Welcome to fundraiser, where we meet with entrepreneurs to explore new trends in funding. My name is John Batista, and my guest today is Chris Bader of Vidly. Welcome, Chris, and thanks for joining me.
Pleasure to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about Vidly?
Yeah, Vidly is the easiest way, the best way to share videos on Twitter, whether it's from your phone, your mobile device, or webcam or computer.
And when did you found the company?
We started the original company, Fligo, July 2008, so about a year ago.
And I understand you were part of Y Combinator's program for startups. Can you tell us how that worked and how it benefited the company?
So Y Combinator is great. They basically educate you on how to start a startup, how to pitch to investors, what they're looking for, and really what you should be doing if you're trying to start a startup. So at the end of the program, when you pitch to 200 investors, in our case, I don't know if it's more now, but there's 3 separate days. You pitch for 6 minutes and tell them why they should invest in your company, and then you go from there. They set you free, and you fundraise.
So this happened last year. You moved to Silicon Valley and launched the company and then proceeded with funding. And that happened pretty quickly, and you raised a fairly significant amount of capital.
Yeah, there were a lot of changes that we went through. You have to be very adaptive as a startup. So our original idea that we were in Y Combinator with changed and evolved into what we ended up raising money for.
And I think initially you were thinking about doing your round as an equity round. You talked to some investors, we talked, and then you decided to structure it as a convertible debt round.
Yeah, we figured it would be much cheaper, be much faster. We can do a rolling close. We could get one investor after the other and just line them up as opposed to trying to herd a bunch of them. And I ended up doing it myself without a lead, and it was a really good experience.
So it sounds like it worked out as you expected.
Yeah.
And so what was some of the terms involved in your convertible bridge? Some of the unique terms that you offered to investors were setting a cap on valuation, as well as having somewhat of a discount on conversion to preferred stock.
Yeah.
And other than that, my recollection is that it was a fairly standard convertible note.
Yeah. You want to incentivize these investors, especially in a seed round, since they're taking the biggest risk out of any, compared to like a Series A or Series B. So we want to incentivize them, show them that we value them, and give them a good deal because they're helping us a good deal.
Did you have much pushback from the investors on terms?
One of our investors gave us a little pushback, but we wanted to work with him, so we sorted things out, and in the end everybody was happy.
So one of the key elements is keeping the terms simple, the amount of documentation short, and in this case I don't recall that there was any legal counsel on the other side. More or less it was simple enough for the investors to write a check and fund the company.
Yeah, when you deal with experienced angel investors, I think they know what they're doing, so they don't get too much legal counsel involved unless they're the lead in negotiating the terms. And
so you raised about $450,000. The next step will be to continue with launching of the company. Yeah. And then what is next for the company in terms of fundraising?
So we've raised $450. We have a commitment on the other $50 with a total raise of $500. And so we pretty much close it up, and now the next step for the company is to set our goals and pick a direction and just push forward really strongly.
And what are some of the uses of capital that you guys are deploying right now?
So with capital, we can hire people, which is really important. We want to bring on some more skilled and talented developers. We can actually pay for things now. We can pay for our lawyers. We can pay for buying domain names and other assets that weren't available to us before.
Fantastic. And overall, how would you say the experience was for fundraising with this convertible note structure?
The experience was really great. You weed out who's a real investor, and really it comes down to people are good people, and once you're done fundraising, it's great because you go to these events and you don't need to talk to all the investors anymore. So I'm glad that it's over, but it was also really a good experience, and we learned a lot about what is important in a company, what are investors looking for. So now we can pass on this information to everyone that's in YC now and fundraising now. It's really important to know these things.
And have your investors been helpful in terms of providing advice and other items for the company?
Absolutely. If they weren't, then they wouldn't be one of our investors.
Right.
You want to find an investor that's going to be giving you advice and that you can call on every now and then and get feedback, and feedback that you value. So it's really important.
And for those of you, Vidly is a good example of a company that was able to raise capital from a number of different investors without much negotiation, get money from a lead investor, and use that as leverage to minimize the time and the documentation and the terms, and complete a round in literally a little more than a month and get the capital that it needs to continue to fund the company. Thanks, Chris, for joining me today, and best of luck with Vidly.
Thanks for having me.
This has been funRazor on Vader News. I'm John Batista, and thank you for joining us today.